So I think it's safe to say that the DC Icons is now officially a dead line. They gave us a lot of really cool figures, and they also snatched away a lot of other really cool figures that they never actually released, but for better or for worse, this line is now officially over with the release of the Superman Doomsday 2-pack. It's a fitting way for the DC Icons to go out. However, it is quite sad that we didn't get to see the final release of the Blue Beetle Booster Gold Buddy 2-pack, the Captain Marvel, the Catwoman, the Deadshot, the Sinestro. They were figures that a lot of us collectors really wanted to see, and DC Icons, that whole line, had the rug pulled out from underneath it. They would show us figures and then say, we're not going to release them, and then show us other figures and say, yeah, we're not going to release those either. It didn't stop me from picking up the ones that I actually liked. I was just part of the disgruntled, discouraged camp, but there were a lot of people who just said hell no to the DC Icons and actually sold them once the line was cancelled. That's not me. I'm happy to have the ones that I have. I just wish that I had more. Anyhow, with the death of the line, I think it's high time that I did a My Complete Collection video. That's not to say that I won't pick up the last few that I don't have, but these are all the ones that I have so far. Come check them out with me. So first off, I have Flash. Now I do want to point out that when I show these figures, I'm also going to mention some of the things that I liked and some of the things that I didn't like, and I'm probably not going to show very many of their accessories. I'm just going to show the actual figures. This Flash figure, in my opinion, was one of the best Flash figures that we've had offered to us as Flash fans, probably since people started making Flash action figures. It's accurate, it looks great, if not with the head being a little bit too big. I still think it's a wonderful offering for a Barry Allen Flash. My only complaints about this figure really, it's actually not that the head seems just a tad too big, it's the fact that the ear wings on the head so easily snap off. I handle this figure like it's made out of glass, but this is one of the first DC Icons that I picked up, and it's by far one of my favorite. Next we have the Hush series inspired Nightwing figure, coming with both the schema sticks, and this one, unlike the Flash, who did not have drop hinges, and a lot of the earlier ones didn't have the drop hinges in the groin, the Nightwing does have the drop hinges, which actually makes him a lot easier to pose. I was really satisfied with the Nightwing figure, the overall look of this figure. I thought the head might have been just a little bit too big. If you really were into doing custom work, you could buy a second one of these and pop this head on the DC Universe Classics Nightwing just for shiggles. And if you feel like the head's just a little bit too big, I'm sure that there's an older Nightwing figure from Mattel that you could custom the head on here and the scale would be just right. I'm okay with it just the way it is because, you know, he's not a figure that I do a lot of custom work. I think I got one custom Nightwing, so I was satisfied with him for sure. Next we have Firestorm, a figure that I was really happy to receive. I really like Firestorm and feel like he doesn't get enough love. And this is the new 52 version, which is sort of strange considering that the Flash, the Superman, the Aquaman, and the Batman are all sporting classic looking costumes. And then you have the Green Lantern and you have Firestorm here and they're in their new 52 duds. But overall it's a great looking figure, has the drop hinges, and it displays really, really well with the rest of the DC Icons. I also got the Green Arrow. This is my overall favorite look for the Green Arrow. Absolutely. Not a big fan of the TV show look, and even the new 52 look was kind of weird. I really do prefer a classic Robin Hood look for my Green Arrow, but I realize that that doesn't translate well into the modern age. One of my favorite figures, the boxing glove Arrow, doesn't come with him. That's DC Universe Classics, but he was just really well done. The string across the bow. I do think that the arrow choices were weird. They were all double arrows except for that one and that one, but two of them were stuck together like that. And I'm not sure if that's because, you know, you can load two arrows into his fingers and make him look like he's going to shoot two at once, but overall, one of my favorite DC Icons. A little bit on the small side, but one of my favorite DC Icons. We'll stick him back here. I also got Wonder Woman. This figure was released around the time of the Wonder Woman movie, and my local EB Games got a ton of her in. They still have a bunch of her on the pegs. I suppose they figured that she would sell like hotcakes because of the movie, and she didn't. She's the only figure I could have bought locally, because all the rest I had to order. We don't get them locally. If I had known I could have got her locally, I would have bought her locally, but I didn't, so I had to order her. I like her overall. I think her feet are really small. It's hard for her to stand up properly. You really got to make sure you balance her well because she's got this big upper frame, the heavy hair, the giant breasts, and then you got these little tiny feet. And so she's top heavy and it's really difficult to get her to stand up, except for right now. She's going to make me look stupid. I also got not one but two DC Icons Hal Jordan Green Lantern figures. The one on the left is the initial release. You can tell because it has the lantern, has the ability to hold a lantern because it has an open hand. And then this one came with the DC Rebirth 7-pack. And they're pretty much the same. The green tones are a little bit different. The lantern symbol on the chest is obviously just a little bit different. This one's a little bit smaller inside of the circle. The hair color is a bit different. The major difference that I found with this one is if you look here at the shoulders, there's no holes. You can't see the articulation in the shoulders here. Whereas with the original release, something that fans did have a problem with is it's ugly, right? Can we just say it's ugly? Yeah, it's ugly. And so because fans spoke up, they actually fixed it and filled the holes in. However, I still do appreciate this one more. The detail is a bit more crisp in comparison to the detail work on the second release. I do have both of them. If I had to sell one, I would sell that one. Although none of them are for sale. I also have not one, but two Aquaman figures. And these ones are actually quite different in almost every single way. For one, this one's got a bulkier body. He's got the neckline. That one doesn't. This one has a completely different belt compared to this one. The gloves are different. This is a different sculpt altogether in comparison to the original release. This one comes with his trident, although there's actually 5 pitchforks, so it's more like a quad. No, that's 4. Quintet? A quintet? Quints is 5, right? A quintet. This Aquaman, when you get him out of the package, he comes in the 7-pack. His head's actually too big for the body. This is the second head that came with this Aquaman figure, with the boom, 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 boom in the forehead that you can stick that thing in. I just filled it up and put it on, because I just think it looks better. It doesn't look completely accurate, but the scale is better. I like Aquaman a lot. I don't think that he gets enough attention, and I think these two, either way, I think they both do the character justice, although this one would have to be my favorite in comparison to the one in the Rebirth 7-pack. I got the Forever Evil Lex Luthor, probably one of my favorite Lex Luthor figures. I did a review of him and I reviewed him quite highly. I just really think that this captures Lex Luthor in power armor really well. This is probably my second favorite look for Luthor's power armor, second only to the 1980s power armor that he sported around that Superpowers era. I like this figure a lot. Like, a heck of a lot. No drop hinges down there in the groin, but I mean, he looks really, really nice. And if you're a Lex Luthor fan and you don't have this one yet, this is one that I would highly suggest that you pick him up. I haven't seen anything about this figure that I don't like yet, so a highly suggested action figure indeed. I've also got Black Adam. This is a figure that I would have liked to see in his original uniform, much more simple rather than the New 52 Black Adam, but I mean, it's a great figure. They executed him well. He does not have the drop hinges in the groin, and I know I keep mentioning that a lot, but for me, that just makes the articulation a little bit better. Without the drop hinges, you can't go any farther back than that. Like, you're really stuck because their buns get in the way. Again, though, I really do like this figure. I think that the sculpting looks really nice. I think the face looks immaculate, and I think they captured the New 52 look of Black Adam pretty much perfectly. I would like to see the original one as opposed to this right here on my review table. However, this is what we got, so I'll take what I can get. I got Joker. And Joker came with a butt pile of accessories. He came with a crowbar, he came with a Tommy gun. This Joker is probably one of the best Jokers I've seen. My only qualm with this figure is that they didn't give us a regular head. You are stuck with the hat on his head. And this should have been a second kind of alternate head. And give us one with just the regular hair. Because I think most of us, in my opinion, I think that most of us would pose him without this one and just with a regular head. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you would have preferred a regular head on your Joker figure. But overall, it's a great figure. I mean, this captures the look of Joker to a T. For a whole lot of Joker's existence, you look just like this. And there's no complaints, really, aside from the fact we didn't get another head on this figure. I'll just stick him back here with the rest of them. I got me a Deathstroke figure as well. This figure, in my opinion, is exemplary of all of the really good things about the DC Icons line. Immaculate sculpting, excellent choice in colors with the palette, perfectly executed. This figure, in my opinion, is the very best Deathstroke figure that collectors and fans of Deathstroke have ever gotten. The only one that comes up close to it, behind it though, is the DC Universe Classics. For as much crap as the DC Universe Classics get, come on, there were some crowning achievements in the DCUC, and the DCUC Deathstroke is definitely one of them. However, this one absolutely blows it out of the water, in my opinion. Best Deathstroke figure, and certainly one of my top 5 DC Icons figures, and it's vying for the first place. I really like it that much. He's not even my favorite character. I just think that this is an excellent action figure, and he came with a butt pile of accessories too. He was worth every penny. Next is the Rebirth 7-pack Flash. This is probably one of my favorite DC Icons as well, just because he's executed so well. The red looks nice, the yellow is nice and crisp, all the paint apps and the lines, they're not really sloppy. I mean, this is as good as it gets, I think, for a Flash figure with this much fine detailing and fine lines. Now, when you compare him to the initial release of the DC Icons Flash, remember how I said that this one's head was a bit big? Now can you see it? This one is definitely, he suffers from a fat head compared to this one. This one here, the Rebirth one, seems like it's a little bit more in scale. And they also solved the problem of the head wings being quite as delicate as the original, and there are no leg wings on the boots. So this Flash overall makes me a whole lot less anxious when I pick him up and handle him. I'm not afraid that he's going to break or I'm going to break off one of these wings. One of my favorites. I think they've executed him well. And for me, picking up the 7-pack was a no-brainer, because this was one of the ones that sold me on the 7-pack. Next up, I've got Superman, the figure that I was the most excited about when I saw this line coming out. Kind of, you know, a little bit miffed at the fact that the eyes are painted so weird on this figure. And the groin is like, I don't know what the heck that is going on. It looks like a drop hinge groin that just can't go back up again. It's not. That's just the way the groin works. But other than that, I mean, I think they picked good enough colors for him. He's executed well. I've got a few of them. I mean, I obviously like him because I've more than one. I've given DC Collectibles my money for more than one. Not just him. I've got the Rebirth Superman that came single carded, and then I've got the one that came in the 7-pack. I've since switched the heads on it, but you get the point though, right? It's the same basic figure. I think that the Superman figures are executed pretty well. Strange tone of blue here, but this is pretty much accurate to what he was wearing at the time when he first showed back up again. It was this kind of a odd color blue. The face sculpt on this one's a little bit, you take it or leave it. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't know. I'm in the it could be better and it could be worse camp. It's just one of them. I also got Superboy and Damian from the 2-pack. John Kent Superboy is probably one of my favorite things going on right now in the DC universe. I think the storytelling is really nice, and he's a great additive to the Superman family, and it makes sense that after Superman got married and domesticated that he would become a father. All those people that say Superman's not relatable, really? He's married with kids, for Pete's sake. And then you have Damian Wayne Robin here, and this is my favorite Damian Robin figure, and I've got 1, 2, 3. This is my 4th. I have 4 Damian Robin figures, and this one's my favorite because of the accuracy and the cheeky look on his face. I think this captures Damian really, really well. Not to say I don't like my other ones. This one is my favorite. If you jumped on the DC Icons and then jumped off before this came out, this is one that, in my opinion, you should pick up. It's an excellent 2-pack. Next is the weak-ankled, top-heavy Rebirth 7-pack Wonder Woman. I call her the Big Barda Wonder Woman because she's actually the size of Big Barda. Don't believe me? Well, let's just do some size comparisons. Here she is next to the regular Wonder Woman figure, and you can see that she is much, much taller than this Wonder Woman figure. And then let's stand her next to Superman. She's much, much taller than Superman, too. Face it, there's no way around this one. She is out of scale, too big. Now, some people would say, well, she's an Amazon, so she's supposed to be bigger. Well, she's not in the comics. That's just the fact. She's actually not that much bigger. She's not bigger than Superman in the comic books. DC Icons made a mistake somewhere and made her too big. And as much as she's sculpted well and the details are great, she's a letdown in the size and scale department. And I'm not even a size and scale person that really freaks out, but this one does bother me. She'll make an excellent stand-in for my Rebirth, my multiverse Rebirth Wonder Woman until that comes out. Other than that, I mean, she just looks weird standing with the rest of the icons. I'm going to put her in the back so she looks shorter. Rebirth Batman figure, probably one of my favorite. I did switch the head off. I've used the head somewhere else because the head that came with this one, it's a great head. I just felt like it didn't work. This one doesn't really work that much either. Back to the drawing board. The head, actually snapped. The neck peg actually snapped during a custom, which is rare for me, but it's just so thin. So if you're going to be doing any kind of head swap with this one, just be warned that that neck peg is really, really thin and it can snap really, really easily. A great figure though overall. This is probably one of the best. It's one of my top DC icons for sure, along with Deathstroke and Firestorm and Superman. Really, really well done. Nothing really terrible to say about this figure. It's got the drop hinges. It's got all the articulation that I need it to have. And, you know, with this figure being released, it made me feel like it was such a pity that we were going to lose the DC icons. Cyborg! Now, there are two ways you could go about getting this figure. One, you could buy him individually and get all those awesome kick-ass accessories, which I didn't do. Or you could get him the way I did, which was through the Rebirth 7 pack, and you just get the figure like this, the basic figure. I don't need the accessories, I just wanted the figure, so it's good enough for me. Overall, probably one of the better executed Icons figures, and let's face it, I mean, they were all executed pretty darn good. I mean, there were some flaws and problems, but some of them were better than others. This one falls into the better than others category alongside Rebirth Batman, the Lex Luthor, the Firestorm, the Deathstroke. This is one of the shining examples of the quality of the DC Icons line, at least in my opinion. I got the initial release of Batman from Wave 1. It's funny, mine actually showed up with the abs on backward. They were like, this was what was to the front of my Batman figure, and it wasn't until I had him in a video and someone pointed out that his abs were on backwards that I took him apart, and I really had to actually take him apart, cut the belt and take him right apart to fix this. It was crazy. Somehow that got out and escaped quality control. Backwards abs Batman. But as you can see, it's all back together now and everything is a-okay. This technically is not Bruce under the cowl. This is apparently technically Dick under the cowl. And I'm okay with that because when I pose him next to Superman, it could be anyone underneath there, and I like to imagine it as Bruce and live in denial that it's technically Dick under there. Dick did a great job being Batman, but let's face it, he's no Bruce Wayne. Let's leave Dick Grayson to the role of Nightwing and Bruce Wayne to the role of Batman, please and thank you. Next up and finally we have the Superman Doomsday 2-pack, and if DC Icons is done, they sure went out with a bang with this one, because what better way to go out than with the death of Superman? This was the story, Superman issue 75, that rocked me to my core. The idea of my absolute favorite childhood hero being beaten to death by Doomsday. Literally, Superman and Doomsday beat each other to death in the streets of Metropolis, and it was all Superman could do was kill Doomsday to stop him from continuing his rampage and destroying everything on planet Earth. Superman was the only thing that stood between the human race and complete and total destruction. And I think they've done an amazing job at capturing these. This is my absolute favorite DC icon right here, Doomsday. The articulation is nothing to write home about with the arms, not gonna lie. It's there's nothing going on in the elbows, but I love the look of this figure. He's my favorite DC icon, in spite of the fact that some of his articulation points are a little bit tight and short on movement. Superman looks great. If you read the storyline, you're going to recognize every single detail on this figure to match his look in Superman issue number 75. No wait, look! I knew I was going to forget one. Look at that. I also forgot that I got the DC Icons Harley Quinn. She's just in a completely different display. Drat. Every single time now I forget one. It's going to be like a tradition. Okay, back to the video. But with that, I think I've come to the end of every single DC Icons I own. I don't think I own anymore, so I'm going to end it. That's it. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video, having a peek at my complete collection of DC Icons action figures. At the end of the line, I don't think you're going to see me picking up very many more of these. I might pick up the John Stewart, that's kind of on my list. The same thing with Blue Beetle, but they'll be separate. I won't do another complete DC Icons video again, so this is it. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It means a whole lot to me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everybody. Thanks for letting me share with you.